The story of Mowgli isn't about a boy finding his home. Instead, it's about a boy who became the judge, jury, and executioner for an entire world. His true legacy was never a song, but a cold and calculated act of total annihilation. The tale we all know doesn't show him choosing between two worlds. It hides how he destroyed one. So here's the question. What if the final chapter of Mowgli's story wasn't written by Disney, but by Kipling himself? And what if it reveals the one secret that proves Mowgli was never just a man cub, but the master of a terrifyingly ancient power that could erase a village from the earth? We all remember how the story ends. The familiar, comforting melody begins to play. A young girl with a water pot appears by the river, and Mowgli, captivated, follows her into the man village. He has finally chosen his people. Bagheera, wise and satisfied, turns to a reluctant Baloo, who is still humming the bare necessities. They smile, knowing the man cub is safe. It's a gentle goodbye, a perfect, hopeful ending where everyone finds their proper place, and the jungle and the village remain separate, but at peace. It's the ending that has been accepted as the truth for generations, a sweet and simple farewell to a boy who became a man. A story that closes with a smile, and a song about the simple things in life. It feels complete. It feels right. But it is a complete and total fiction. That gentle ending is a comfortable lie, crafted to soften a truth that is far more brutal. The author, Rudyard Kipling, did not stop Mowgli's story there. In 1895, just 1 year after the original, he published the second Jungle Book, continuing the tale immediately after the death of Shere Khan. In its pages, Mowgli's relationship with the village doesn't conclude with a friendly wave. It ends with fire, famine, and utter ruin. Forget any fan theories. This is the author's original brutal vision. It's the story of what happens when a child, raised by the unforgiving laws of nature, is betrayed by the world of men. He doesn't just leave their world behind. He returns to shatter it. The story we were told was just the beginning. The real ending is a reckoning. The key to this shocking turn lies buried in the title of the story itself. A chapter called simply, Letting in the Jungle. Now, think about those words. That's not a title about coexistence. It is a command, a promise of invasion. And it all begins with a single, fatal mistake made by the villagers. They believe Mowgli has abandoned them for the wild. But he hasn't. He has returned to the world of men and chosen to live with the one person who showed him kindness, his adoptive human mother, Mesua. The villagers, however, consumed by fear and superstition, decide that anyone associated with the wolf boy must be a witch. So they capture Mesua. They plan to burn her alive. And in doing so, they threaten the only human Mowgli has ever truly loved. They break the one bond he was willing to form. And they trigger a response so final, so devastating, that it would require the power of the jungle's oldest and most terrifying force to carry it out. To understand what Mowgli does next, we first have to unlearn everything we think we know about his world. We need to look at the clues hidden in the original story. And the first clue is the most important. The law of the jungle is far from a collection of friendly suggestions. It is an absolute ironclad code, and its justice is terrifyingly swift. When we see Baloo teaching the wolf cubs in the Disney movie, it's played for laughs. A sleepy bear trying to wrangle hyperactive children. But in the book, Baloo is a stern and serious teacher. He is the keeper of a sacred legal system. He teaches the cubs the master words, the hunting calls, and the intricate rules that govern every interaction. A mistake isn't some funny moment. A mistake means death. The law dictates who you can kill, when you can kill, and why. It has rules for water truces during a drought, and it has rules for dealing with those who are lawless, like the Bandarlog monkeys. Mowgli was raised in this system. It's all he knows. His morality wasn't shaped by human ideas of forgiveness, mercy, or second chances. It was forged in a world of harsh realities, where an infraction against the pack or a betrayal of trust carried an immediate and often lethal sentence. He doesn't see the world in shades of gray. He sees it in a stark, binary code. Those who follow the law and those who break it. Those who are part of the pack and those who are prey. This rigid worldview is the first critical piece of evidence. It tells us that when Mowgli is confronted with a profound injustice, he won't look for a compromise. He will look for a judgment. And the law he serves offers only one. The second clue that reveals Mowgli's capacity for cold, calculated action is the death of Shere Khan itself. In the Disney film, the final confrontation is a chaotic, desperate fight. Mowgli is a frightened child, using fire as a last resort to scare the tiger away. It is an act of panicked self-defense. But in the book, the encounter is something far more chilling: a premeditated execution. For weeks, Mowgli plans the tiger's demise with the cold precision of a military general. He knows he cannot defeat Shere Khan in a direct fight, so he doesn't try. Instead, he spends his days with the village herders, studying the movements of the great buffalo herds. He learns their patterns, their temperaments, and their immense power when stampeded. He observes the geography of the ravine where they graze. He is not just passing time. He is scouting a battlefield and choosing a weapon. When the time is right, he creates the perfect trap. With the help of his wolf brothers, he splits the buffalo herd in two, sending one half to block one end of the ravine and the other half charging down from the opposite end. Shere Khan is caught in the middle with nowhere to run. Mowgli orchestrates the entire event from atop his trusted bull, Rami. It was a carefully planned kill. This act reveals a side of Mowgli that Disney completely erased. He is so much more than a boy who is good with animals. He is a master strategist. He is capable of immense patience, long-term planning, and the use of overwhelming, brutal force to achieve a specific goal. He knows how to turn nature into a weapon, and that is a skill he will soon use again. Now we arrive at the third and final clue: the motive. After Mowgli orchestrates the death of Shere Khan, he fulfills his duty to the jungle, but he also believes he has fulfilled his duty to the world of men. He has killed the man-eater that has terrorized their village for years. He has done what their best hunter Buldeo could not. As proof of his victory, he laboriously skins the tiger and carries the massive, heavy hide back to the village, expecting to be hailed as a hero. He saved their lives. He protected their children and their cattle. But that is not what happens. When he arrives at the village gate, he is met not with gratitude, but with terror. The hunter Buldeo, humiliated and jealous, has turned the entire village against him. He convinces them that Mowgli didn't kill the tiger through skill, but through sorcery. He tells them Mowgli is a demon, a shapeshifter who commands a pack of devils. They don't see a protector, they see a monster. The villagers, whipped into a frenzy of superstitious fear, begin to throw stones at him. They scream curses. They drive him away from the village he just saved. This is the ultimate betrayal. He upheld his end of the social contract. He acted as their champion. And in return, he was branded a freak and violently cast out. After everything he did for them, is this the response he deserved? Let me know what you think in the comments. This moment is the breaking point. It severs any lingering loyalty Mowgli might have had to the laws of man. In his mind, they have proven themselves to be lawless, just like the monkeys. They broke the code. And now, the boy they cast out has the motive, the strategic mind, and the jungle's law on his side. All he needed was an army, and the secret to commanding its most powerful weapon, Hathi the elephant. The war begins with a desperate plea. After being exiled, Mowgli returns to the jungle. But word soon reaches him from his wolf brothers. The villagers, now completely under the sway of the hunter Buldeo, have seized Mowgli's adoptive human parents, Mesua and her husband. They accuse them of being the mother and father of a demon. They have them tied up in their hut, guarded, preparing to torture them for information before burning them alive for the crime of witchcraft. For Mowgli, this is the final line. It is no longer about his own honor. It is about protecting the only humans who ever showed him love. He doesn't hesitate. He and Grey Brother race to the village under the cover of darkness. The rescue itself is swift and silent. Mowgli chews through the ropes that bind them while the wolves stand guard, their eyes glowing in the dark, terrifying the villagers who dare to watch. He leads Mesua and her husband out of the village, guiding them miles away to the protection of another, larger town. He ensures their safety, but he doesn't leave it at that. Before they part, he returns to the edge of the village one last time. He finds the priest who helped incite the mob, and he makes a cold, terrifying vow. He promises that he will not lay a hand on any person in the village. He will not kill them. He will not even harm them. He gives his word. But then he adds the chilling final part of his promise. The people will be spared, but their world will not. The village itself, he says, will be gone. This is not a threat made in anger. It is a statement of intent. And Mowgli immediately begins to assemble the forces to carry it out. He is no longer just a boy living in the jungle. He is now its undisputed master, a commander preparing for a campaign. The first to join his war council is Bagheera, the sleek Black Panther. More than just a friend, he is now Mowgli's chief of intelligence. His role is to scout, to observe, to report on the villagers' movements and their state of mind. Next, Mowgli gathers his most loyal allies, Grey Brother and the 4 wolves born from his original den. They are his shock troops, his agents of fear. Their job will be to harry the village, to remind them that the jungle is always watching, and to enforce the first stages of his plan. But this will not be a war of tooth and claw. Mowgli knows that to destroy a village, you don't attack its people. You attack its foundations. You attack its food, its water, its very reason for existing. And he was planning a siege. And for that, he needs more than just predators. He needs to command the jungle itself. He needs to turn the herds, the rivers, and the very soil against the village of men. To do that, he needs to recruit the one being in the jungle with the power to reshape the land. He needs Hathi. To truly grasp the terror of what happens next, we have to completely erase the image of Colonel Hathi from our minds. The bumbling, pompous elephant from the Disney film is a comforting caricature. It's a lie. The real Hathi of Kipling's jungle is an ancient primordial force. He is called Hathi the Silent. Forget about a soldier in a silly parade. This being is a god of destruction. Kipling describes him as a creature of immense gravity and power, a creature who remembers a time before the jungle was as it is today. He remembers when the rivers ran differently, when the valleys were shaped by ancient forces. He carries the memory of the world's creation in his mind. He is not simply an animal. He is a force of nature, like a glacier or an earthquake. When he is angered, the book says, he can literally make new watercourses, carving new rivers through the land with his rage. He is the ultimate power in the jungle, respected and feared by all, even Shere Khan. He is the embodiment of the jungle's oldest and most profound strength. And he does not serve anyone. He is a king, a patriarch, a force that acts only according to his own ancient wisdom. To command him would be like commanding a hurricane. It would be impossible. So how could a boy possibly control a living god? And this is the central secret of the entire story. This is what proves Mowgli is something more than human. The deepest and most sacred part of the jungle law, which Baloo taught him all those years ago, is the existence of the master words. There is a word for every species, a secret call that, when spoken, signals that you are one of them, someone who understands their law. Mowgli knows them all. But there is one word that is above all others. A word so powerful, so ancient, that it can command the Lord of the Jungle himself. It is the master word for Hathi. When Mowgli approaches the great elephant to ask for his help in destroying the village, Hathi initially refuses. The affairs of men are not his concern. The destruction of a village is a great and terrible thing. But then Mowgli does the unthinkable. He reminds Hathi of a story from a time long ago, when Hathi was trapped by men in a pit of spikes, and how one man set him free. And then he speaks the master word. The book never tells us what the word is. It is a secret too profound to be written. But the effect is immediate and absolute. Hathi the Silent, the ancient king of the jungle, bows his head. He acknowledges that Mowgli, the man-cub, has the authority to command him. This is the single most important moment in Mowgli's life. It is the moment he transcends his identity as a boy and becomes the true master of the jungle. His power was never in his hands or his knife. It was in his knowledge. He understood the deepest, most arcane rules of his world. And with that knowledge, he could now unleash its greatest power on the village that had betrayed him. The army was now complete. The siege could begin. Mowgli's plan is a masterpiece of psychological and economic warfare. It is a slow, methodical, and terrifyingly brilliant siege, executed in 3 distinct phases. He knows that a direct, bloody assault would break his vow not to harm the villagers. So he decides to make the village uninhabitable. He will not drive the people out with fear of predators. He will drive them out with the slow, creeping terror of starvation. Phase 1 begins with their most valuable asset, their cattle. Under Mowgli's command, Bagheera and the wolves begin to harass the herds. They don't kill them. They simply stalk them, appearing at the edges of the grazing grounds, their eyes glowing in the twilight. They spook the cattle, driving them further and further away from the village and deeper into the jungle, where they are eventually lost. The village loses its source of milk, its beasts of burden, and a major part of its wealth. Phase 2 is the destruction of the harvest. Mowgli commands the jungle's herbivores, the wild boar, the deer, the sambar, to descend upon the village's fields. Night after night, great herds swarm out of the forest, trampling the young shoots of grain and devouring the crops. What they don't eat, they destroy. The villagers post guards, but they are helpless against the sheer number of animals. The jungle itself is eating their future. Mowgli is systematically dismantling their civilization, piece by piece, using the very animals they once hunted as his instruments of famine. The siege works perfectly. Within weeks, the village begins to crumble. With no cattle and no crops, starvation sets in. The villagers, already terrified by the constant, menacing presence of the jungle at their doorstep, begin to abandon their homes. Family by family, they pack what little they have left and flee, seeking refuge in other towns. They are not driven out by a monster, but by the quiet, relentless pressure of a world that no longer wants them there. Mowgli and Bagheera watch from a distance as the last of the families finally departs. The village is now empty. It is a ghost town, a collection of silent huts and ruined fields. Mowgli's vow is still intact. He has not touched a single person. But his revenge is not yet complete. The village must not just be abandoned. It must be erased. Now he gives his final command. He returns to Hathi and his 3 powerful sons, who have been waiting patiently. He points to the empty village and speaks the words that give the chapter its name: "Let in the jungle." What follows is far from a chaotic rampage. Instead, it is a systematic deconstruction. The great elephants move through the village like a living demolition crew. They push against the mud walls of the huts until they crumble into dust. They use their tusks to tear out the central beams and pull down the thatched roofs. They trample the storage bins, the fences, and the pathways, grinding everything back into the soil. Finally, Hathi leads them to the river, and they divert its course, sending a flood of water through the wreckage to wash away the very foundations. The story does not end there. Kipling adds a final haunting epilogue. 6 months later, Mowgli returns to the site of the village one last time. But there is nothing to see. The rains have come and gone. The jungle has already begun its relentless work of reclamation. Where houses once stood, there are now mounds of earth covered in lush green moss and new jungle growth. The river has settled into its new course, and the land itself is so transformed that, as Kipling writes, no one would ever know that 70 people had once lived there. Mowgli's revenge was absolute. This was not just an act of destruction, but an act of uncreation. He defeated his enemies and even erased their entire existence from the map. He kept his word. He never laid a hand on a single man, woman, or child from the village. Instead, he simply took their world away. He did not break the law. He enforced a much older, much more powerful one. Mowgli's story shows us a boy who embraced the beast within to deliver a terrible justice. But what if the beast wasn't a choice, but a curse? The story of Beauty and the Beast hides a secret far darker than an enchantment. It's a story of a forbidden bloodline. To see what I've uncovered, click the video on your screen right now.